There is a big difference on how we are tested here and how it was done in Namanga. We hope after these samples are taken to the lab, results will be out after 48 hours. The ministry has put a system in place to release results on time. Those who test negative will be allowed to carry on to their destination, but those who test positive will be advised by health experts.
The Chancellor of the University of Dar es Salaam, retired President Jakaya Kikwete, has said that after the Chief Medical Officer's office verified that the John Magufuli hostels, which were being used to quarantine people suspected of having the coronavirus, have been sanitized, students can now use the buildings.
Kaja kupatia maradhi hapa. Tukazungumza sana, lakini walinihakikishia kwamba serikali imechukua dhima.
The government has took responsibility of ensuring that there will be enough sterilization and disinfections so that the places remain safe. I was satisfied with the decision made because I urged those responsible to ensure that the exercise will be monitored closely. We don't want to ruin the image of the hostels to become epicenter of spread of the disease.
Lazima tuhakikishe kwamba kweli linafanyika.
Na majengo yote yalifanywa usafi kwa maana ya usafi wa yalifanywa decontamination kwa maana ya utakasaji.
The exercise of decontaminating and cleaning of the hostels was done and completed since 30th of April 2020. Not only general cleanliness but even trashes were all cleared immediately. What we should all remind ourselves is that the disease is not over. We must all continue taking precautions.
Somo yanaanza rasmi. Hakuna kusubiri, kuanzia kipindi cha kwanza asubuhi, lectures zinaanza.
Classes will resume immediately, thus we are calling on our students to report back as soon as possible because after next week, tests will be announced. This is not a threat, but we saw that there is no need of delaying regular academic activities after the government has announced that opening of universities and higher learning institutions. All students must remember to continue taking precautions. Tanzanian traders conducting activities on the border of Tanzania and Kenya at Holili in Kilimanjaro region have complained of being prevented by the government of Kenya from crossing the border to purchase goods, despite the agreement reached between leaders of the two countries to allow business to carry on as usual despite the coronavirus pandemic.
Would like to get our products there without being restricted. Once we get there, then we can hand over to the agent. The same applies to them. We've allowed vehicles from Kenya to enter and are able to trade. Same should be allowed to our people. The issue concerning the border between both sides, between our side and our neighbors, needs to be looked into. We still need to get a definite answer on how to ease trade. Traders from the other side have been able to bring their merchandise. It is doable if right controls are put in place because traders from both sides are in agreement.
Parliament has said funds allocated for development projects should be used on intended projects. Contributing to the report by the Local Authorities Accounts Committee, some members of Parliament say that procedures on how district councils are run should also be reviewed, particularly on funds allocated to the National Health Insurance Fund.
Tatizo hili kimsingi linaathiri sana huduma zinazopaswa kutolewa.
This problem is affecting the provision of services in our municipal councils, particularly on health. We're running a campaign to sensitize the people to sign up for medical insurance.
Kwa nini tenda isiwe wazi, Mheshimiwa Naibu Spika?
Why can't contracts be transparent, Honorable Speaker? A lot of countries are doing so. All applicants are allowed to look at each other's tender bids.
CAG ameonyesha mapungufu makubwa sana yaliyoko katika swala zima la usimamizi wa manunuzi katika.
CAG has shown shortcomings more so in the management of procurement in our local government authorities.
Army worms have invaded and destroyed maize farms in more than 50 villages in Mkinga district, Tanga region. Due to the situation, pesticides researchers have gone to villages to provide education to farmers and extension officers on how to deal with army worms invasion.
Tatizo hili la viwavi jeshi katika wilaya yetu ni tatizo kubwa.
This is a big problem in our district. 50 villages have reported cases of army worms.
Katika kijiji changu wakulima wameweza kuathirika kwa.
In my village, farmers have been affected, but because of financial constraints, they were not able to buy pesticides from shops.
Kuwawezesha kununua madawa ya madukani.
Hapa tunaongelea viwavi jeshi vamizi ambao wanashambulia mahindi kama.
Maize and tomato farms have been invaded. We would like in every region farm officers to receive training on how to deal with this problem in respective areas.
Tunahakikishia kwamba tutakuwa tunakabiliana vizuri na hawa wadudu.
We assure you that we will address this problem and increase the yield on our farms.
Kuongeza uzalishaji katika mkoa wetu wa Tanga.
Lake Tanganyika for the first time will be used as a source of reliable water, where the Rural Water and Environment Authority in Tanganyika district has started to rehabilitate a water project worth 283 million shillings, which will be used for generating solar power, and which will actually use solar power and is expected to benefit 8,000 residents of Karema and Itetemia villages.
Na kimsingi hapa kazi ambazo tunazifanya ni kazi za kwanza. Kuna kazi ya kwanza moja kubwa kama mnavyoiona hapa.
This plant has capacity to produce 22,000 kilowatts. The laying of the pipes from the lake will be the next phase to the tanks. I'm so happy that this project has come to us. My advice is it should be completed.
Sisi wenyewe kupitia wataalamu wetu wenyewe wa ndani.
This is a great design that our engineer, your team, and that from the ministry have come up with.
And the government has been urged to review policies on guidelines in the health sector so that people with albinism can get personal preventative items to protect them against skin cancer. The call was made during a skin clinic for people with disabilities with albinism in Morogoro.
Watu ambao nimewaona mpaka sasa hivi nimepata mmoja tu ambaye anaviashiria.
Only one is showing skin cancer symptoms and has received treatment. Most have also received training on skin care.
Nzuri kwa sababu inapunguza kuja kupata shida ya ngozi.
Kana madhara ya mionzi ya jua.
Because of coronavirus, those who attended today have also been given sanitizers and masks.
And that is the end of national news. International news follows next. And in international news, Kenya's Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe has announced that the total number of COVID-19 infections in Kenya rose to 1,618 after 147 new cases were confirmed. He said 2,831 samples were tested in the last 24 hours and that all the 147 new cases are Kenyans.
The more we test, the higher the number of positive cases that we are likely to get. Today, 147 people have tested positive out of 2,831 samples now tested. This means that Kenya now has 1,618 people who have now tested positive. The cumulative test conducted so far is 70,172.
You minus the discharges and those who have recovered or who have died. And today the numbers we have in various hostels, more than 36 hostels, is 692. 3 out of these are in critical care in ICU, and the rest are under observation and are doing well in stable condition. That number stands at 54, which gives you a figure of 3.5%.
28 more Ugandans have tested positive for COVID-19 as the country's total number of confirmed cases on Wednesday rose to 281. The positive cases were from 2004 samples that were tested at the Uganda Virus Research Institute and Central Public Health Laboratory. Out of the confirmed cases, 21 are truck drivers who entered the country from South Sudan through the Elegu border point, while the other 7 were from previous contacts of truck drivers who were under quarantine at the time of the testing. The other cases included 4 Tanzanians, 1 Eritrean, a Congolese and a Burundian truck drivers. 7 drivers found positive were refused entry. 5 of them were from Tukula, Idebu, Malaba and Busia. These were possible following procedures set that no truck driver will be allowed to enter the country without going through a test.
Negative.
And that is the end of international news. Business news follows shortly after this break. We'll be right back.
Watch Business Edition as we talk to business leaders and experts in sectors that are transforming Tanzania's economy.
We believe that the driver is the customer.
To change the mindset of traditional HR to digitalization.
Make sure that everybody can get some access to financial services.
And once we understand the vision of our leaders, we then need to be behind them and help them in achieving that vision.
Business have involved mercantile operations, trade guilds, or shared agricultural production, infrastructure, construction, financial sectors, tourism, and mining. Business Edition on Friday at 8:15 p.m.
Welcome back, and in business news tonight. The Ministry of Natural Resources and Tourism has called on companies which have invested in national game parks to ensure the infrastructure has been rehabilitated so that tourists who visit the parks have an enjoyable experience. He also said that hotels which had closed because of the coronavirus pandemic to start operating and get ready to receive tourists. We're calling on traders to begin renovations, disinfect hotels and cleaning environment ready to receive tourists. I believe that from July we shall get a lot of tourists because people were quarantined for a very long time and cannot wait to go out. The government has made an excellent decision, and we are grateful for that and ready to deliver good services for the benefit of the nation. The acting director of taxpayer education from Tanzania Revenue Authority, TRA, Richard Kayombo, has said they will provide services this Saturday and Sunday so as to allow taxpayers who were not able to do so due to Eid al-Fitr celebrations last week pay their taxes.
Wale ambao wanataka kulipa au kukadiriwa kodi zao za mapato, wanao taka kujisajili lakini hawana vitambulisho vya taifa, ambao bado wanaweza kuja ofisini, na wengine yote ambayo labda ana maelezo au malalamiko au manunguniko ambayo yanahitaji kuja kuonana na maafisa wetu au meneja na wana lengo la kulipa na wanataka walipe kwa wakati, basi watakuja, watasikilizwa.
The acting registrar from Tanzania Dairy Board, Dr. Sophia Mlote, has said that the sector is facing various challenges, including numerous taxes that have contributed to increase in production costs.
Bado tasnia ya maziwa inakabiliwa na changamoto mbalimbali ikiwa ni pamoja na kuzingatia sheria.
The dairy sector is still facing challenges, including manufacturing, processing and distributing dairy products. There are so many levies, poor infrastructures and other challenges hindering growth of the sector.
Ya kwamba Watanzania lazima tuwe na wivu.
Tanzanians must have thirst for development in our country. Let us put patriotism in the forefront, starting with government offices. They should stop using powdered milk as efforts of supporting local produce. I wish every Tanzanian could feel ashamed of themselves for not supporting Tanzanian dairy companies. And that is the end of business news. Sports news follows next.
Away first time, good start from Bolt. Bolt leading a moment of going away. Gay trying to go with him, and he's being dragged through the second place, but he's going to win it by 2 meters. Away first time, good start from Bolt. Bolt leading a moment of going away. Gay trying to go with him, and he's being dragged through the second place, but he's going to win it by 2 meters. Opposition, Joaquinho, he did lose to Lend.
In sports news, Tanzanian basketballer Atiki Ali has been named the fastest riser and number 5 in the Canadian class of 2021. Here's more on the story.
Atiki Ali Atiki, who plays for London Basketball Academy in Canada, has continued to shine with the North Pole Hoops, naming him the fastest riser and number 5 in the Canadian class of 2021, which means he now attracts the eyes of scouting companies in the world. The Tanzanian youngster emerged through Basketball Without Borders camp that is run by Masai Ujiri and has performed well in the Canadian League so far.
Vodacom Premier League players will need at least 3 weeks in order for their bodies to be ready for matches, Simba Sports Club headquarters said.
Van der Broek oversaw Wekundu Msimbazi's first training session at Mo Simba Arena Bunju in Dar es Salaam as they prepare for the resumption of the league activities. Simba, like their rivals in the mainland league, have been away since April when the Tanzanian Football Federation TFF cancelled sporting activities. The matches are set to restart after President John Magufuli gave them the June 1 green light for resumption. The Belgian coach explains why the players need a 3-week window to prepare for the remaining 10 matches.
The father of the Aston Villa head coach Dean Smith has died 4 weeks after contracting coronavirus. Here's more on the story.
The Premier League club announced 79-year-old Ron Smith, a lifelong Villa fan, had died. A club statement read, "The Aston Villa family is saddened to announce that Ron Smith, The father of our current head coach, Dean, has passed away at the age of 79. Ron, who had recently been living in a care home after being diagnosed with dementia 6 years ago, contracted coronavirus 4 weeks ago, and after a short spell in hospital, passed away with his family at his side. A lifelong supporter, Ron was a steward at Villa Park for many years and passed on his love of the club down to his children.
May his soul rest in peace. Amen. Now, moving on, a group of clubs led by the Liverpool will argue against paying a £330 million rebate to Sky and other broadcasters at a meeting to discuss the matter on Thursday, despite the Premier League's recommendation that it should be accepted.
The finance directors of all 20 clubs were informed on Wednesday on the sum by the Premier League, whose head of broadcasting, Paul Molnar, is leading negotiations. Sky is the prime broadcaster with rights to show 128 live matches a season, followed by BT Sport with 52 and Amazon with 20. Because of the rights terms, 50% of money is divided equally, with 25% awarded for live appearances and the other 25% dependent on league finishing position.
And Formula One teams must make significant cuts in each of the next 5 seasons after the FIFA announced new budget caps. Here's more.
The first ever Formula One budget cap will come into force next season, set at $145 million, a significant reduction on the initial plan to set the limit at $175 million. That will require major sacrifices from the leading teams, some of which are reported to have budgets in excess of $200 million. Last month, the Ferrari principal Mattia Binotto warned in an interview with The Guardian that the Italian team may consider their future in the sport if the demanding request of a further spending cap was introduced. But Ferrari are reportedly happy with the new agreement, seeing it as the best possible compromise in the current climate.
And that sports item ends our news bulletin for tonight. My name is Khadija Zimbwe. Thank you for watching and good night.
You can watch Capital News live on our social media accounts, YouTube Capital TV, and